What if manifestation wasn't about forcing, grinding, or toxic positivity, but about healing what's been quietly shaping your choices, relationships, and your self worth? She Manifested That is where Black women come to share the real stories behind their manifestations, the healing before the blessings, the boundaries that made space for breakthroughs, and the self trust that changed everything. So if you're ready to manifest your next level, join me, Dr. Dre Cleveland, your personal power coach, and some incredible Black women, and let our stories reflect the life you've lived and the one you're calling in. Stay tuned, sis, and grab your cup of tea, because girl, this is just another way to get your life together. This episode of She Manifested That is powered by financial advocate Chad Chambers with New York Life. Building legacy and protecting your loved ones is one of the deepest forms of self-love. Get your free consultation to help you make sure your future and your family are secure. Find the links in the show notes. Hey, sis. Welcome back to She Manifested That, the podcast where Black women come to share their real stories behind the blessings, breakthroughs, and manifestations they brought into their lives. I'm Dr. Dre Cleveland, your personal power coach, and today we are not talking to a woman. We are talking to a man here who is an amazing guy. And, I met him really recently, but I found out that he's awesome and he has a lot of integrity and he really cares about the community and what he does. And he's here because he was one of our sponsors for the selfie ball this past October. So we're going to be here talking to him, Mr. Chad Chambers, about how he manifested his comeback. So stay tuned for that. Let's get into it. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing? How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Yes, I know you feel a little under the weather, so we'll give you a pass. So, but before we get started, I want you to first be able to tell us a little bit about yourself. So, can you introduce yourself to us in 5 words?
5 words. It's actually a lot harder. When you told me, I was trying to think. But the first word that came to mind was resilient. Um, just keep pushing on. Um, Patient. That's something that I continue to work on, and I always try to get better. You can always be better. Patient. Um, Adapting or adaptable, adapting to my surroundings to change. Um, Optimistic, very optimistic. I try to be positive, you know, be optimistic and try new things. Um, I said three, right? I got two more.
I think you said four. You may have said
Four?
four.
Four? Oh, nice, nice, nice. And I would say caring. Um, I care for a lot of different things in my life, different people, different organizations, the community, and just caring about, bettering myself so I can be better for other people. All right. So I can say that. Those would be my
Okay.
5 words.
I love that. I love that. And what I really love about that is that you gave us a little bit about why you chose those words, right? So that gives us a little bit more insight into you and what you care about and what's important to you. So, what I would love for you to tell us about now is what you manifested, because we're calling this your comeback.
So that's my comeback.
Yes.
Um,
Tell us about that. What did you manifest?
as I said earlier too when we were speaking, last 2025 was like my comeback year in terms of where I wanted to be, or at least getting the traction. And that all resulted because of in 2024, it was a beginning of the year was a real tough year for me. I was going through problems at work, the original jobs I had 4 jobs actually at the time. So I was
Mhm.
running on no sleep. I was literally sometimes I would be working 36 hours straight.
Oh, wow.
Um, I was a manager at Nordstrom. I was a manager at CVS. I was working at a logistics team, and then I was doing a courier service on the side as well. So it was a lot of things that I was just getting myself into, and because I was having problems sleeping, I was always down. Felt like I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. A lot of it was comparing myself to my counterparts, like looking at
Mhm.
my friends graduate and just thinking like how I could have done things differently. Why did certain things happen in my life? Why this happened to me? And I was a very strong-minded person before. I necessarily didn't believe in, oh, you can't be depressed. I always used to say people who are depressed just don't have enough problems in life. They don't, they don't, they're not looking at the bigger picture, right? They have so many people out there doing less than us. But I always have this in America, it's impossible to be depressed. And I always say God came and sprinkled just a little bit of depression in my life, just so
Mhm.
I can get that kind of ignorant mindset. Because when I look back at it, that was a very ignorant way of thinking, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I was just always down. I would wake up some days, and I'm not a crier. I'm not an emotional person at all, really. And I would wake up and just cry. I would just sit in bed, and I was just really just down bad. And it didn't feel like I didn't have much people to talk to. I didn't know how to talk about it because this is something new for me. Um, just going through a lot, relationship wise, personal, in my faith, a lot of things. I was just questioning a lot in life at that point, and I just wasn't happy. Um, as you know, my story. My mom, she's very sick, so like dealing with that also was just like a burden. It just felt like everything in life was just like, like I would be on the train and just droop and like depression. Like that's the only way I could describe it. It just felt like I was walking around with a ton of bricks on my back all the time. And I just I didn't want that for myself, right? I just know I hated where I was, but at the same time I had to allow myself to fall because I was so always a strong-headed person, always a strong-minded person. And like I said, I didn't believe in the depression and stuff. So I was like, you know what, maybe I do need to accept and look into accept this is happening, right? And
Yeah.
not always try to be that big, strong, be the big, strong black man, always got to pick yourself up. It's like, you're human, allow yourself to fall because if you have faith in yourself and you believe yourself, you can climb back up the ladder.
Right.
So I kind of just allowed myself to slip into like this very bad state. But every day I was drinking a lot. I was like I wasn't even going out to party. I was just going out to the bar and just sitting there. Just I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't
Yeah.
eating, wasn't sleeping because all I was doing was working, going out, going to the bar, coming home, getting 2 hours of sleep maybe. Some days.
That's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Some days it's crazy. Like I'm like, I slept 10 hours in total this whole entire week and it's Thursday. So
Right.
I just know I didn't want that for myself. And what I had started with school and a lot of things, I didn't get to finish school because of COVID and because of myself as well. I kind of allowed myself to get comfortable coming back home. It's like, let me take a break, let me figure out myself. My mom's situation was all brand new, so it was just a lot to figure out. And I was like, everything was just settling at once.
Hmm.
And I don't know, like something one day, I just like had it's like a switch. Like I was just like, Chad, you can't keep allowing yourself to fall into this comfortable place. Like you don't want this for yourself. Like what are you doing? Like you don't want this for yourself. The things that are happening to you, you don't like, and a lot of it was in my control. And I
Hmm.
just didn't know how much of it was in my control, right? But like I said, words are powerful, right? Manifesting things are powerful. Saying it, I just started had to realize like, stop saying these negative things out loud. Like, say that you're gonna be better. Say that you're gonna end up in this place. Like, say that God is gonna continue to come into your life and bless you with however He seems fit. Right? It may not be what you seem fit, but why limit yourself to that experience? Right? Missing out
Yeah.
to that experience that God has for you.
Got you.
So.
Well, Chad, let me ask you a question before you go on, because two things
Mhm.
stuck out to me. One, what I heard you saying is kind of describing what we would call like the dark night of the soul. Have you ever heard of that? Like the dark
No,
night
I
of the soul?
haven't.
So that's like it's a saying that people say. You can look it up too, but you know that part of our lives where we're at our lowest, where we're forced to kind of, you know, look deeply within ourselves. We're forced to do that work in order to remove ourselves from the situation that we find ourselves in, and to um, walk into a better light. And that's what I'm hearing you saying right now, right? As you're sharing this story. And I'm also hearing you saying there was a transition for you, or a way that you had to start thinking, or you know, something that you had to come to, if we could call it like a come to Jesus moment, quite literally, right?
Really.
Um, and I'm curious if you could share a little bit more about what that was, because I'm hearing you saying like, this is where I was, and this is where I started to go. I started to think this way. I started to, you know, make those negative thoughts positive. But you know, what was that turning point? What made you say to yourself, you know, in that moment that you want, yes, you wanted more for yourself, but you know, what had to happen for that to be the shift?
So, as you now that I'm thinking about it, because remember I told you like I manifested without knowingly I was manifesting,
Hmm.
right? So it was like as I look back at it, it was different steps, and it started in like different steps before it all started to format into that comeback season. The first time, like the first initial time was um when I went on vacation. Actually, it was right before I wasn't gonna do anything for my birthday. I was like, no, it's my birthday. I'm not really big on my birthday. I would do like a dinner with my close friends or like some. No, I like to go on vacation. Right? That's my main thing for my birthday. And I was like, I'm not doing nothing this year. I had got terminated from one of my jobs, and I hated the other one that I was at. So I was just like, I'm not going nowhere. And a good friend of mine, like she was like, no, you work very hard. You have whatever you're going through, because like I said, I found it hard to open up to people, but people noticed the energy. They noticed the lackluster in me. Like I was always quiet. Um, she was like, no, go. Oh, go do it. Why? Why are you limiting yourself from, again, experiences? And I ended up going to Jamaica. And during this time, uh, I picked the wrong time to travel. It ended up being the earliest Category 5 hurricane in like Jamaica's history. I think Beryl, Hurricane
Um,
Beryl. Yes, I ended
yeah,
up
I heard
traveling
that.
a day before Beryl. And so now I'm just like, look, not even my vacation can go right. Like I didn't even know like the storm was gonna come because they said it wasn't gonna come. It wasn't. And I was like, now my vacation is ruined, da 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 da. And I'm sitting on they shut us down, put us on lockdown basically when the storm like winds picked up. The first day was very nice. Like we had a good first day. The next day, it was murky. The waters, no, like a hurricane is about to come.
Yeah,
Um, so they put us on lockdown. We were on lockdown. It felt like COVID. It was kind of worse than COVID because now we're in a hotel room in a different country, right?
right.
For 22 hours, we were locked down for. So I'm literally losing my mind because now I'm like, oh my gosh, I think it's a vacation. And so I'm hopping from the bed to the couch to the table, from the couch to the bed, just literally just hopping, just jumping like a little kid.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm just thinking like, why can't stuff just go right for me? And why can't things just happen like the way how I want it to be? And something told me to go on the balcony, and they told us to stay off the balcony, and because of the winds and everything. But luckily, with my room position, it was towards the back of the resort, and it was facing the back of the storm, how the storm was coming. So I went on my balcony. I had my speaker, and I just played music, and just started to reflect. That was like the first initial time. I just started to reflect on everything. And what I did, I reflected on what was my catalyst in this situation. Like, how did I play a role in either the downfall or the upcome, or how I am feeling in each situation that I feel like is affecting me right now. And for like about the next 12 hours, I just sat there just going through
Mm,
everything that has been happening, like literally dissecting it. And I wish I had something to write it down. I wrote that on my phone, but it was so much that at a point I was like, no, my fingers got tired from typing. Right? I was like, damn, I wish I had like a pen or something to write it down. But it was like just going and it kind of like a soul searching thing.
mm-hmm.
And I cried again. I just sat there, cried. I prayed, and I was just like, God, just help me out here. Like, I feel like I'm lost. I'm losing it, right? I'm losing it bad. And literally, the storm clears up. Had a great vacation. After turned out to be one of the best vacations I've ever had. Like, I was just so happy. Like the next day, it was just like being around people. We survived the storm. Everybody was happy. We was all cleaning, helping out the people at the resort. It was I always felt like real love. And I was like, maybe I just gotta have to attack this thing instead of allowing myself to stay in that moat, right? Like I said, I allowed myself to fall. Now it's time to climb back up the ladder, and that was the first time I put my foot back on the ladder in terms of
Mm-hmm.
to make that first step. Secondly is when I came back, right out of nowhere too. Um, I had got a call from this lady. And it's just now I know she's Iranian. This lady calling my phone. I'm like, they're like, hey, is this Chad Chambers trying to give me a job offer? I'm like, I'm not, no, no, no. I'm hang up the phone. Like, nah, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And I'm just, used to people calling. I'm like, it's probably some scam. Like, how you got my
Yeah.
number? Right? I haven't been looking for a job. I haven't posted anything. Like my LinkedIn wasn't as it is now. Nothing. So how do you know I'm looking for a job? Right? Um, and literally called again, left a voicemail. Then she follows up the next week, called again, and sent the email. It's like, hey, I saw your resume on um ZipRecruiter, and I think you'd be a very good fit. I'm not sure if you are working or looking for work, but I am offering you an interview. And I called her back. And I was like, hey, I've gotten a call. You called me a couple of times. She's like, yes, I've been trying to get you for about 2 weeks. And she's talking to me about this company. This is like, I work for New York Life, yada yada yada. Just coming for an interview. I was like, okay, well, then what can be the worst thing, right? I was like, I
Right.
want change, right? This is the why not accept what's coming towards me, right? And I didn't know what I was about to walk into, honestly. So she gives me the location, and I type it in on my phone. I'm like, it's in Long Island. The day of the interview, all the way to Long Island. I'm like, oh, I am not going to this interview. I didn't even get a haircut that because I decided I wasn't gonna go. And something like this pulled me out of my bed, like grabbed me when you get in trouble, when you get
Yeah.
yoked up. Something like
Yeah.
it felt like I got yoked up out of my bed. I just jumped up. And I just started showering and this. I'm like, what am I like? I didn't even know what I was doing. Like
Mm,
like thinking wise, but it felt like something just took control of my body. So I started getting ready. I'm getting ready for the interview, right? I'm like, you know what? Let me go. I don't have a haircut, but still. And at that time I had dreadlocks. So I fixed it up kind of nice, did a little retwist as best as I could, had it down. All right, made it smell good, whatever. Did the whole shebang.
yeah.
And I'm driving, and now the drive goes for an hour because when I searched it, it was in the morning. Now it's closer to rush hour. All right, well,
Yeah.
it is rush hour, so now traffic. So now I'm saying an hour and 45 minutes. I said, oh,
Oh,
no, I am not doing this. Sorry, hour and 30. I am not doing this. And I don't know what happened. Some way, somehow, I'm in the car, I'm pushing start, driving to Long Island. Like, it just felt like I couldn't, and why I'm not, when the whole time I'm doing that, I'm thinking to myself, like, why am I doing this? Like, what is really making me go? And I'm driving. They said my arrival time is gonna be after the interview time.
mhm.
So I called her saying, "Hey, I'm running a little late. Traffic." She was okay with it. Just don't be too late. All right. I'm like, okay. I'm driving. I don't know what happened, but another like the destination says I was gonna get there at I think it was at 4, so I was gonna get there at 4:10. Now it's saying I'm gonna get there at 4:30. Then went to 4:52. Then it's like 5 o'clock. Then they gave me a whole nother route because apparently there was a terrible accident on the route that I normally take to go to go out there. Terrible accident. Apparently somebody died and they had to shut down the highway basically. So I had to go all the way around, take an even longer route because I was already going that way. So I had to come back into Brooklyn to go back out to Long Island.
Oh my goodness.
Turns out now that added on, I'm going through local streets. I'm by JFK Airport. I'm like, where am I? What am I doing? And I pulled over for about like 10 minutes. And I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I going through this? Like, all this for an interview that I'd even accept. Like, no, I'm turning around, I'm going back home. And something was just like, oh. And I'm gonna get to the something like later what that something was. And I was like, we just go. I called her and she wasn't happy, but she was like, what time you get here? When you get here, we'll see what happens. No problems, I'll be able to interview you. So now I finally get to the spot. It's about six or somewhere 6 o'clock. Mind you, my
Wow.
interview was 4 o'clock, right?
Oh my goodness.
So now, and I've been driving for the past like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, right? I go in, I walk in, I see everybody in suits and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm in a polo shirt with nice some slacks and nice pair of sneakers. What I thought was professional-ish, right? Or
Mhm.
interview quality, right?
Right.
I walk in and my now partner, she goes, like, just looks at me like, okay. So you show up 2 hours late and you show up looking like this. And I don't know what, she said, come, let's just have the conversation and talk. And we started having a conversation, started interviewing. She interviewed me. And my interview, I didn't leave. The interview didn't end until almost 8:30. So
Wow.
we
That's
interviewed for 2.5 hours.
yeah.
And she damn near would have hired me on the spot. And she told me, she said, you are an amazing person. She's like, your story, your passion, it has a lot behind it. And I could tell the type of person you are. She says, what you're gonna do, you're gonna get a haircut. She says, and you're gonna come, she's like, you're gonna get a button up, some slacks, some dress shoes. So I got it. She said, we're gonna do another interview because this is a 3 interview process. She said, this is the second interview. She's like, I like you, but this is not how you come to an interview. And the drive back, I'm thinking like, wow, what if I didn't go? I walked out there excited. Actually, when I learned about the job and everything, like learned about New York life, about how I can help people, how I can help myself, how I can educate myself and grow, become this financial advisor, become this wealth manager, helping people with their planning. I was just like, oh, wow, this is what I was talking about, what I would want to do, right? Helping others. It's right down my alleyway, customer service in a sense. But on their finance, I'm helping them with their finances. It's something that I'm creating relationships and family with people.
Mhm.
Um, and I was happy. I was in the car driving back, like, oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna be a financial advisor. Da, 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 da. I can't wait. Ran, and the whole time I was like, what was that thing that kept me going? It was God. This is controlling me, right? He was just like, hey, this is what you manifested on that balcony, right? When you reflecting and going through these things. Now I'm gonna put something in front of you. Now it's up to you to take that
Mhm.
action upon it, right? And it was like, wow, that was like the first. Felt like I climbed up some more steps on the ladder, right?
Yeah.
And once I got the job and everything, the next step was, and this is the last like phase where and I was like, okay, I'm in the midst of my comeback season. It was a couple of months into the job, and I was feeling better. I was walking better. I was smiling. I was educating myself. I was helping people. A lot of things was going right in my life, and I kind of got comfortable with that, right? It was just like, okay, cool. I'm at a spot where, you know, I'm good. And I wasn't. I kind of slipped back into like a mode, like a real depression, kind of didn't really unmotivated, didn't want to do anything. And it kind of affected my work a little bit. Then
Mhm.
they told me, it was like, hey, if you don't make this amount, like, because it's a commission-based job, it was like, you got to maintain your paratiness. And I had a conversation with God. I was just like, hey, like, am I doing what you want me to do, or am I doing what I need to do? Right? Or these things do I need to get out of this funk, to get out of this hoopla? And I ended up doing an event, and I met this he's like a mentor to me now. We had a great conversation, and he was like that last step that helped me achieve like my to for me to be aware that I'm in my comeback season. Took a lot of tears, a lot of talking, but he helped me talk and he gave me somebody to talk to. I was my
Hmm.
parents, my dad is a little bit older, so I never had that. Oh, I could go talk to my dad, type of relationship with him. It's more so we build things, we do things, this is how it is, type of relationship. And
Yeah.
it was good to have that mentor around me, that community, and I hit the ground running in terms of career, meeting people, being more open. And I coincidentally, I met you right after that, right
Oh
after,
wow, that's
right. So that was like me being different. I feel like if before I probably would have never even said anything to you, right? But
hmm
I was so open and just talking to you in the print shop. I was just
yeah.
talking like an open free guy, and because I was happy, right? I was in the midst of my comeback. I was making good money at work. My personal relationships were building. I found a Bible study that was great. Still looking for like a good church, but I was building my faith, and it's just doing the things that I want, right? Those are
hmm
those are the most important things to me, right?
Yeah. No, I love this. And and I'm glad that you're telling the story and I'm kind of connecting it to the day that we did actually meet in the print shop because I would have never known that that had just happened,
Yep.
what you just shared. And the thing that I want to go back to is now that you filled in the blanks for us, I think there's a really important lesson for us to get out of that, right? In other words, what I heard in your story is that you sat down and took inventory. You took responsibility not only for what you want and what needs to come next, but I heard you taking responsibility for where you've been. And a lot of the things that tend to stop us or keep us blocked from the things that we want to manifest is that we don't often do that conversation, right? It is kind of hanging out in that woe is me. Why is this happening to me? Why would God do this to me? Why would the universe conspire again? Like whatever,
Yes, man. I felt
right?
like
Whatever the case is, right? And there's times where we don't take the time to sit back and say, what did I bring to this table? Right? And to be fair, right? Sometimes it's not even a physical thing you did, right? In other words, taking responsibility is not like blame.
mm,
Responsibility is like I get to say what happened. I also get to see who I was being inside of whatever was happening in the past that I get to learn from that so that I don't carry this same person into my future, right? And you took hours to do that in the middle of a storm. How poetic is that?
and I feel like it was literally like it was in the midst of chaos. Like I'm chilling, I'm listening to Bob Marley and the Wailers and just vibing, and then I put my hand out, and it's like like on the balcony. It's like I'm really sitting outside, and these winds are going around 120 miles an hour. If I just put my head out, I could just go, and hear me, my feet kicked up, literally just looking at the trees and looking at the water. 'Cause it was just like felt like somebody was just like spraying a water hose, garden
Hmm.
hose, because of how everything was just blowing, and I was just chilling. And I didn't. There was some spirits in the room. In the hotel rooms, you got the Spencers. So I
Yeah,
was like, I had my little cup with the ice, and I just reflected. Just a lot. Just went through, and yeah, very poetic now that I'm thinking about it. It's like,
right. It is. It is. But it matters, right? Because it really signifies the moment in any of our lives, whether we're in our, Jamaica balcony or in our bathroom on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
right? That there's that moment where we have to take inventory and then take responsibility for who I have been being and who I'm going to be going forward. And then that opened up space for you. Imagine how, like, and we know that's how the universe works, and we know that's how God works. However, we want to call it the same energy, right? And we know that that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
You unblocked something, you released something on that balcony. You daggone blew it away at that
Blew it
point,
away.
right? You
Threw it in
blew
the
it
storm.
away.
Threw it in the
Yes,
storm.
yes. And then you opened up a path for who you said that you wanted to be going forward. And one other thing that's really important that you said, and I don't want to skip over it because I think a lot of times we do, just as humans, skip over it because we think everything's supposed to, like, oh, I'm manifesting something. You didn't realize you were doing that, right? But when people are consciously trying to manifest something, they're like, I wanted this and I wanted that, and look, everything's still going crazy and everything's still not going the way that I want it to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that we have to understand, just even about energy, right? God is in the details. And when you're thinking about energy and the way things go, there has to be a reckoning. There has to be an evening, right? Energy doesn't just shift like that, right? Even if you turn on your faucet and you're going from hot to cold, there's a time where in the middle it's kind of both
Hey
at the same
sis,
time,
don't go
right?
just
But
yet.
we like
Exactly.
to call
Yeah.
I
warm,
want to share something really
right?
special
Like
with you.
that's warm,
Black Girls
right? But
Manifest
there's
is a
still a
book
mix
and an
of what came
experience
before
that
it
I created for
and what's
Black
coming
women ready
after
to
it,
heal,
right? That
remember
kind
who
of
they are,
staticky
and
area.
manifest from
So when
alignment,
you were
not
talking about
struggle.
that,
If that's you,
you got the call
visit
and you were getting ready to get ready and you're
getblackgirlsmanifest.com
doing
and
things, and then
take your
here's this
next giant
catastrophe
step.
that's happening in the middle of you going to your destiny at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
That happens so much to all of us, but a lot of people stop right there. They would have gone back home 100%, right? And then go back to that complaining of, see, this is just evidence of that things don't work for me or why I'm always getting stuck. But there's always going to be that bit of static that happens right before you really get to where you're going, because energy does not, it's not black and white like that, right? It has to go from cold to warm to hot, right? Or hot to warm to cold. Either way, don't just go cold to hot,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's for a split second, you're going to feel the difference, and you're going to feel that both are present and that there's a dance that's happening, right? And that's what I heard in what you said. But what I also heard is that you kept your focus on whether or not you realize it in that moment, but you kept your focus on God in that moment, which is your guiding point, right? And that may look different for different people, right? But we all have that guidance system, and you let that take you through the the rest of the storm at that point, right? To get you on the other side. And I think that that's something that we really have to make sure that is clear,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. I like how you put that for sure. Like I said, I didn't even know what it was until I was able to sit back and reflect and look back on that drive back home. Like, oh, it's like this is what I did ask for, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're giving me what I and like I said, it may have what I needed or what I wanted, right? He's gonna either or, right? What you need, right? And what sometimes it's not what you want, but you don't know what you want, right? You don't know what experiences you're limiting yourself. Like I was having a conversation with someone, and they said that if they can control everything in their life, they would.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why? It's like because it's just like she's so that, no, I would like control, like to know what's gonna happen. Not saying that to have control, but what's gonna happen. And I said, don't you think you would limit yourself to the only experiences that you want? I was like, well, you don't know. I was like, for example, you don't know, say you what food you like, right? You try new food, right? And it's like, oh, you really like this food, and then you eat that one food for the rest of your life, What other foods that you could have possibly liked, right? What other dishes out there that you could have possibly liked? I said you're limiting yourself to that one your obstructs and construct of life of what you think of control, but you don't know all of what you like. You may find something it's like, oh, how many times have you said that? Like, oh, I didn't think I would like that. Oh, that was really fun, right? That didn't
Mhm.
look like something I would do, but I enjoyed it. Right? Same thing. You don't know what life experiences you're limiting yourself from having all that control. So sometimes you just gotta reflect, control what you can and what you can't, use it and internalize it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But I love that because I was just gonna ask you, like, what would you say is your biggest lesson or something that you would want to share with Black women on their own intentional manifestation journey, right? And I feel like that was a good start, what you just said. That don't have to be what you say, but I'm just saying that, that was also a really great nugget. So I want to ask you that, like, for the people who are listening now, what would you say would be your biggest takeaway from this that you would want people to know, Black women in particular, for them?
um, One, to be patient. Um, I say Rome wasn't built in a day, right? It's still an ongoing thing. Like I said, the comeback doesn't stop, right? So it's how can I come back from the comeback, right? Make it
Mhm.
even more stronger. But have be patient. I feel like I'm gonna head back to the five things that describe myself, like
Mhm, mhm.
resilient, like keep pushing. Um, keep pushing. Like if you believe, run with that belief, right? And that's what you have. You have to believe it for yourself. I know you have to be the one that want it the most for yourself more than anything, whatever you're manifesting it, right? And if you are going to manifest it, words are powerful.
Yeah,
Put those positive words out there. Say the positive things, but also like tell yourself you're strong. Tell yourself you're beautiful. Tell yourself that you can do what you're attempting to do, whatever it may be. Not saying walk blindly, but walk with an openness.
yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay, okay. Well, I think that was a great way to wrap this up. And I thank you for not only your story, but also your support in being a manifestation maker. In other
Yes,
words,
yes.
helping helping our community in general, but also helping specifically Black women and partnering with me with the selfie ball that happened in October. And I really, really appreciate your support. And you're just like immediate, like I'm there. Like whatever what do I gotta do, basically. Right. That was the energy. And I really appreciate that because without you, it wouldn't have been what it was. It really wouldn't
Thank
have.
you.
And I appreciate that. And side note, I have to say, so many people are like, "Who's the gentleman in the back with New York Life? Like he's so friendly. He's so great." And I was like, "Yep." And
Thank you.
he's they all thought that you were way older than you are. You get that a lot.
Yes, yes, I get that a lot. Every time I tell people, yeah, I just turned 25, they're like, whoa. It
Yeah.
was like just from the conversations. A lot of times people ask that after the conversation, they're like, oh, how old are you? I was like, oh, 24, I'm 25. They're like, wow. And
Yeah.
it's inspiring too when people say that. It's like
Yeah.
what they feel. Keep doing whatever you're doing. Just whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you do, just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that makes me
Exactly.
that makes me honestly feel proud of like I said in the comeback. It keeps me want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah, yeah, because of your age, your story is that much more powerful because I can't say, and this is me personally, I'm not saying they don't exist, but I don't know a lot of people your age who have been able to do what you've done, but I know a lot of people who are where you were. And so for them to hear that this was the comeback or this was the shift, that just lets them know this isn't an age thing at all. This is like you said, it's a belief thing. It's I got to say, I want better for myself. And that's if you're 25 or if you're 65, whatever the case is, right? You get to decide. There's people on this podcast that are all ages. right? Even just to prove that point. It's not about anybody's age. It's about there's a choice that you're making. There's something that you're calling on for yourself, and you are focused there, regardless of the situation. And even when God got to pick you up and carry you himself, when
Pick
you
you up.
right? But that there was an allowing for that. You didn't
Yeah. I
fight
had a question or fight. Mm-hmm.
yeah, right? And that's important in this intentional manifestation journey, because going forward, you now know what that is. You can name it. And when it's happening, it's that much more powerful. You know you're not going to fight it because you know what it is,
Yep. Now,
right?
building that awareness of when you surrender, we're not saying like, "Oh, I manifested this." Like, sometimes you even think sometimes like, I had to kind of egotistical. Sometimes it's like, do I have superpowers? Like, this is exactly what I said, and this is exactly how it's happening because
Yep,
I'm accepting and receiving all the signs for it and attacking it with purpose.
exactly. And that in and of itself is the superpower. You're not wrong. You're
Mhm.
not wrong. The difference is that we all have access to it, but we all don't know how to access it, right? So that's why I do the work that I do, because for me, that's the whole goal. Return us back to our power. That's the whole point of this, right? So with that, I definitely want to thank you for being here. I
Sure.
also would
Thank-
love for you to tell us how to find you on socials.
So you can find me on. I do partake on Facebook, Chad Chambers. You can also follow me on Instagram as well. As Chambers underscore Chad double underscore. Real simple, it's my name. Um, Also my website, my New York Life website. If you guys want to find out more about what I do or my story, you can also reach out my personal number 347-779-4614. And I'd love to talk with anyone that's willing and wants to reach out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And sis, if you're listening to this, I want you to know if he manifested that, so can you. Your desires are real, your healing is valid, and your next level is already calling your name. And before you go, make sure you download the manifestation readiness check at amireadytomanifest.com. It's a quick and powerful way to see what's standing between you and the life you're calling in. And until next time, keep believing, keep becoming, and keep manifesting. Ciao.
Hey, sis, don't go just yet. I want to share something really special with you. Black Girls Manifest is a book and an experience that I created for Black women ready to heal, remember who they are, and manifest from alignment, not struggle. If that's you, visit getblackgirlsmanifest.com and take your next aligned step.